We are live again with you at Advertising Week 13 right here in the LinkedIn Hub, doing some amazing interviews right here in Times Center. And I have with me a guest who was with me last year, Greg Raifman, who is the president of Rubicon. And you know,
great to see you again.
Great to see you as well. Thank you. And I think what's interesting is talking to people last year and then talking to them again this year is being able to see the differences and the trends, because I feel like this is a different year. I feel like last year we spoke so much about programmatic and we spoke so much about mobile, and while obviously these things are not going to go away by any means, there seems to be a shift towards some other things as well.
Sure.
And
you can't forget, this is a political year.
Yes.
And a lot's going on tonight with the big debate.
Yes, of course. And that, I'm sure, factors into so many things that we think about and so many things that we do. And the one thing maybe that you and I were chatting about, which we can start with and talk about, is the consumer experience. Yes. That seems to be a real focus this year. Yep. You know, a lot of people I've spoken to seem to be talking about really being able to have it more individual and more identity focused than previously. And automation is still a big part of that.
Absolutely. Let me break it down this way and start off by saying, to begin with, the advertising model to reach consumers is for the most part broken. Why?
Oh no.
Yes.
We should all just go home then.
No, we got to work harder. Because why? Look at what you're seeing with ad blockers. You know, you might even have one yourself, but many of your users, many of your LinkedIn users probably have them. So when you think about it, the trends are undeniable, okay? 50% growth of ad blockers in the last year since we spoke last. We didn't even talk about that. 35% growth in Europe. 50 million US users are downloading ad blockers. And this is impacting up to maybe 10 to 15% of the total advertising spend. So number one, the ability to reach consumers has been ineffective. We've done a very good job deploying automation to make everything more efficient. We haven't yet done a very good job reaching the consumers with information they want, and they're finding it less relevant. And therefore, they're saying, you know, I don't know that I want to see this information. And as the world evolves from what originally was banner ads to video ads to Internet of Things ads, we've got to become a lot better at using automation for relevant targeting. And we're getting there, but we're not even close now. So we've got a lot more work to do.
So do you think that has more to do with being able to get the right information about the consumers we're trying to reach?
Sure.
Do you think that we are still getting information that's too general and less specific about their real desires and their real wants, so that we can connect with them on another level, so that we can achieve relevance?
Actually, interesting enough, probably that's not the problem.
Oh, okay.
You know, when you go buy a nice outfit online, like I just bought something on a nice retailer, I was bombarded with ads throughout the day with other examples from that retailer. We've gotten really good at targeting.
And similar retailers.
Exactly.
And, you know.
So we've gotten really good at that. But we haven't done a good job in engaging the consumer to figure out what the consumer wants. That's why search was very effective, because at that moment in time, we understand what you're looking for. Social has been very effective because you go through the news feed, you decide what you want to look at and what you don't. But just open web browsing, we haven't been quite as effective. And ad tech was really built, companies like ours at Rubicon Project, really built to solve that problem. And the challenge for the industry has been, are we getting so good at it we're becoming part of the problem, you know, when it comes to targeting?
Interesting. Can you explain that a little further?
Yeah, so, well, part of it is you've seen the proliferation of ads. You know, one of the things about TV advertising is you only get about 4 ads an hour. And even then, people are often videotaping through them, right? So with the web, it's almost like a Wild West. You can have an unlimited amount of ads throughout. And so users are kind of saying, you know, enough is enough. We're setting up ad blockers on our phones. We don't want to be reached. I once did a speech here in New York about 2 years ago where I used as an example the family of 4 back in the 40s and 50s would sit around the TV and watch TV, and a couple times an hour they'd get an ad. Now, from the morning you get up to the time you go to sleep, your iPhone that I see down there gets ads all the time. You're on the desktop. You know, you can't get away from it. So we've got to do a better job engaging you and saying, what is it that you do want? What is it you don't want? And here's the last point, and that is, we're building really fantastic machine learning algorithms to understand what you want before you tell us what you want. And there's more work to be done there.
Well, in that sense, also, when you talked about, my experience as a consumer from morning till night on my iPhone, on this, on my desktop and everything, and that's another point that we brought up a lot today, which is being able to achieve relevance across the different channels and
Right.
across the different devices that any typical consumer now has. When you talked about the family that used to sit in front of the TV, you know that their experience, they're sitting there, it's a group viewing session, they're sitting there watching, they're done.
Right.
For me, I am traveling from this to that all the time, and how do you
That's right.
How do you keep that
We
with
have to
my
figure
journey?
out where you are. One of the stats that I shared with you when we were chatting was that we do a lot of consumer research at our company, and last year we determined that 20+% of all users don't even go to stores anymore. They're buying everything online. Millennials are now up to a third, and this is only getting more and more as a trend. So brands like LinkedIn or the Targets of the world, they can't expect to reach consumers in the way our parents did years and years ago, which was going to stores. You pointed out who knows where you might be when you're using your device. And then the other piece to think about is there's already 1 million apps on that app store. You don't need more apps. What you want is a smart device that helps you come to your interview on time. What's the traffic before you leave? All this stuff you see it starting to happen, right? It's getting better and better. It's not like you want to go to an app and think about it yourself. We need to do the same thing with advertising. Before you think about it, we need to figure out how to target you better. What are you doing at that moment in time? And that's where things like search and social have been so effective.
Yeah.
So that's what we work on.
I think that is a really interesting point. I had kind of a light bulb moment, which is, I'm noticing that whoever, the powers that be, are making it so I don't have to go to the weather app to know as I'm leaving my house what temperature it is going to be as I'm walking over to advertising.
You've got 20 minutes to get to your interview, and the traffic looks like this. And
it's giving me all that information. Great. So to be able to customize even my advertising, to have it be relevant in that sense, and I don't have to open another app. I don't have to go. Right. You know that I buy my whatever, and I need it. Yeah. So I think that's going to be. That's
right, and it's not just because of what site you went to, but it could be because of the daily activities you embark on. How close you are to restaurants. New technologies are coming out all the time, like beacon technology, where we'll know that you're sitting in a restaurant, right? Or because of the identifier in your phone, we'll know where you are, presuming you want us to.
Yeah, right.
And hopefully
you gotta put that in there.
Hopefully that makes for a better experience. And so those are the exciting trends we're going to see over the next several years. But it's all going to be on your mobile device. You're going to be consuming more and more video on that device. And so the reality is, if you're a brand, you've got to be thinking about targeting users across many platforms. Mobile spend will be a $200 billion market in the next couple of years.
$200 billion.
And it's digital alone will be bigger than TV next year. So all things considered, the world has really moved away from sitting in a living room watching TV to taking your phone and being anywhere in the world.
Watching my content and consuming it anywhere on any device, and particularly mobile. Yes, absolutely.
And so it's an exciting world out there. If we can figure out ways to not bombard you with stuff you don't want, but to engage you in ways that this is relevant to you at that time. It's tough. This is tough stuff.
It is. It's the bombarding me, and it's also, I think there's a certain amount of waste that goes into marketing budgets and so on, because you're not reaching me where I need to be reached, or whatever you're sending.
And marketers should get rid of that spend, right? They shouldn't target someone. If you don't want to see it, they shouldn't target you. It's a waste of their money. And so there's a lot more to be done. We were talking at our panel recently, and we were saying probably we're in the third inning of programmatic. We have come a long way. I use the example that in the early days, we used to send Viagra to 19-year-old women. How stupid is that, right? We've come a long way. We've come a long way from those times. And so I think there's still a lot of opportunity. But what it really means is that we've got to figure out a way to engage the consumer and say, hey, what do you want to listen to? And I think there's a place for that, and there's a place for us, our technology, to understand what you want before you tell us. Those two are the key tenets here.
Well, I certainly hope so, because I think that benefits everybody, and it benefits the marketers, but it benefits us as consumers, because I'm not getting ads that I don't want to see, and I am getting what I want, which is kind of a win-win. Yeah.
We've got to understand that if we get rid of the advertising industry or the ad market, you're going to lose a lot of free content with it. So all the stuff that you probably like to go online and read and enjoy and consume, all that's paid by advertising. And so publishers are really at a time where they're feeling threatened because so much of the spend is now going to Google and Facebook, and they're having a harder time to keep up, and they're relying on advertising to do it. So in large part, it's again that balance between allowing businesses to continue to provide the content users and consumers want, but not bombarding them through an advertising model they don't want.
Well, I hope you're right, and I hope we do see that happen in the next few years, because like I said, I think it's going to benefit everyone. Greg, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
And I hope we sit again here next year and talk about whatever interesting is going on next year that's different from this year as well. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of advertising.
That's
There's
great.
still a lot.
I've got to jet back to LA, unfortunately, but I wanted to stay and take care of this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Stay tuned for more live interviews right here on the LinkedIn, at the LinkedIn Hub at Time Center Advertising Week 13.